Okay, everybody, welcome and thanks for joining today's Lunch and Learn presentation. We've been doing a few of these now we've got really good results so far. So it's been good, I think, not only going to our marketing webinars, but also kind of doing a little bit more training in the way that we have these Lunch and Learns. And we will continue to do this. And you can always sign up for further Lunch and Learns. There is a link on our website. There's a banner on our website that says sign up, I think, at the very top, and you'll see a schedule. That link also will take you to the recorded presentations that we host on our website after these Lunch and Learns are complete. Today's Lunch and Learn is going to kind of go at last week I think we talked about administration, and we talked about company administration and project administration. Today's webinar is going to go a little bit more in-depth into one of the areas within company administration, and that is setting up company forms, company fields, what is a variation of a custom form, and then also potentially setting up a company report. The nice thing about doing all of those is that if you set it up at the company level, they have related IDs or the same IDs, and then they can be applied to any project. So we will get into that. As for the agenda today, again, my name is Josh Whitmer. I'm one of the product managers here at Project Team, and I also have Susan, who's part of our professional services team within education and implementation, going to kind of provide most of the training today. We'll start off, obviously, as I'm doing right now, with a quick introduction, and then we're going to get right into the bulk of the presentation, which will be the company form setup, the company report setup, and then I do think that Susan's going to show you how to apply those things into what we call a project template, and then potentially show how to create a project from the template, and then we can kind of answer questions after that. Before we get started, I do want to kind of mention, as we do with any webinar, that we do have a presence on our different social media sites. On these different sites, especially something like YouTube or Twitter, we do host or show the recorded webinars and even other videos that we might take that kind of go in depth with different features that we want to show within the application. As with any webinar, and I just want to say this, we are recording this, so if you do have questions or whatever at the end, we will be able to answer those. If there are questions that you all have that we don't get to, and sometimes that happens with the time constraints, we'll make sure that we email you offline to answer those questions. For administrators within Project Team, in the top right-hand corner, you have an option that says My Company right underneath your name. In this area, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's a lot of different options that you have: company details, users, invitations, projects, and then you get to 3 different areas: 1 company form types, 1 company fields, and 1 for company reports. And that's the area that we're going to talk about mostly today. As I said in the very beginning, the benefit of setting up information at the company level is that it has similar IDs. One of the things that you can do on any project is set up customizations at the project level. The disadvantage of doing that at the project level is that it is project specific. So if you create a new project, you'd have to recreate those things on that new project. At the company level, you can set those things up once and then just apply those to all of your different projects. The benefit also, besides just saving time, is that you can now do cross-project reporting. So if you have an example of like an RFI report or a change order report or a contracts report or some report that has all kinds of different joins in them to combine all of that data, you can set that up once and then it can run on every project, or you have the ability to run that at the company level and kind of aggregate the different project level data. Before I pass it to Susan, I think what she's going to do today is show how to create a company form, show how to create a report at the company level, and then she's going to create a project template. I think in the sense of time, that's pretty much what she's going to go over. But within your project templates, and she might mention this as well, you can also set up things like your workflows, users, share groups, merge templates, and many other features that can be carried over when you actually do create new projects. So the project template feature is a very powerful feature, and that's what we'll kind of go over today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who can actually start to go into the product and start the training.
Thank you, Josh. Now let's get started in Project Team. I'm going to log in using my email address and password, and I'll click the Login button. In the top right corner, there's a drop-down arrow beside my name. I'll click My Company and choose Company Form Types. In the first exercise, I'm going to show you how to create a form variation on an RFI document for small projects. I'll search for the request for information, and I'll click the form title. To create a new variation, I'm going to click the New button. I'll give the variation a name, and I'll click Save. When the variation is created, I have 3 fields that come with the variation: subject, question, and answer. I want to create a couple of new fields. I'll click the New button, and I'm going to scroll down to the Date field. Now, as you can see, we have quite a few fields that you can select from. I'm going to choose Next, and I'll give the field a label. I'll click Next, and I'm going to give the RFI a number. So I'll click the drop-down and click Save and New. I'm going to scroll down to the number field. I'll click the radio button. I'll click Next, and I'll give the field a label. I'll click Next and Save. As you can see, the 2 new fields will populate at the bottom of the list. I want to add a couple more fields. I want to add the name of the person who's asking the question. So I'll click New. I'll scroll down to the project directory contact. This allows me to choose from a list of the contacts in the project directory. I'll click Next, and I'll give the field a label. I'll click Next, and to capture the name of the person responsible for answering the question, I'll click Save and New. I'll scroll back down to the project directory contact. I'll click Next, and I'll give the field a label. I'll click Next, and I'll save the form. Now I have the option to reorder, but if I reorder now, it's only going to allow me to reorder the custom fields. I'm going to wait until I get into the project template to reorder all the fields in the format that I'd like. Now that I've created my variation for the RFI small projects, I'm going to create a company report. So I'll select Company Reports. I'll click the plus sign in the top left corner. I'm going to choose Advanced Report, and I'll give a title to my RFI report. I'm going to save it in the Unpublished Standard Reports because that's where I save my draft documents. Not quite ready to publish it yet. I'll select my category, and for this I'll choose the Request for Information form. I'll click the right arrow to add my category. I can choose a field to sort by, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and sort by RFI number. I have it sorting by ascending. I can select a filter if I'd like to filter on any of the data. And I'm going to go ahead and add my layout. So we'll choose RFI number, creation date. We can choose the subject, the question source, the question, the responsible party, and we can also choose the answer. As you can see, my labels are already created and my fields are listed below. I'll go ahead and click Finish, and I can format this document as I wish. If I'd like to add coloring for the labels, I can do so. Once I've added everything, I can go ahead and save my changes. To publish my report, I'll locate my report in my Unpublished Standard folder, and I'll drag the report to the Published Standard. This makes the report available for me to use on any project. The next thing I want to do is create my project template. And to do this, I'm going to click the drop down in the Projects area. I'll select View All Projects, and I'll click the New Project button, and I'll click Create New for the new project. After I've created my template and I go to create a brand new project, I'll use the Clone Project Template area. So I'll click Create New, and give my template a name, and I'll click Save. My template will open up, and I have the ability to go ahead and add quite a bit of information to my template. My account codes, my cost periods. I can create workflows that I want to use in other projects that I'll create for my template. I can also create share groups for people within my own company. The first thing I want to do is I want to add the variation for the small projects RFI. So I'll click Customize Forms, and again I'll search for the Request for Information form. I'll click the form to open, and as you can see, it gives me those very three same system fields, but you can't see any of the custom fields that I created. To see those, I'm going to apply the variation, and to do so, I'll click the ellipsis button and click Apply Variation. I have several RFI variations, but I want to choose the one that I just created, which was Small Projects, and click Apply. Now remember earlier, I told you that we could reorder from the company forms, but I want to go ahead and reorder within my template. To do so, I'll click the Reorder button, and I'll drag and drop the fields in the order I would like to see when I open my form. So I'm going to go ahead and add creation date at the top. The subject will be my title, and I'll show you how to change that field label in just a moment. I have question. I want the question source. I want to make sure that I put my RFI number at the very top. The responsible person for answering the RFI, and then their answer. And I'll click Save. If I want to change the title of a system field, I'll do so within the project. So I'll click the drop down, I'll click Edit, and I'm going to change the title of this field to RFI Title, and click Save. Now let's take a look at our brand new form. To do so, I'll click View Form Log, and I'll click the Create New Request for Information. Since I'm in my template, I'm not going to create any data because I want to make sure that my template remains very clean so I can use it to create new projects going forward. As you can see, we have the RFI number, creation date, the RFI title that we changed, the question source, the responsible party, the question, and the answer. I'm going to click Cancel and go ahead and return back to the Request for Information log. The next thing I'd like to show you is how you can access the company report. To do so, you'll select Reports, open the My Company Access report folder, choose the Standard Reports, and you'll see where we have the Small Projects RFI report. The next step will be to make sure that I make this project into my template. And to do so, I'll go to Projects, I'll open the project details. And at the very top, I have a slider that I'll turn on to yes to make this available as a template. Now when I want to create a new project based on this template, I'll click the drop down. I'll choose View All Projects. I'll click New Project. And this time I'm going to choose to create my project based on my template. So I'll choose my Small Projects template and I'll click Create Next. I'll give this project a name. I'll give it a number. I can add my project address, description, start date and end date now, or I can wait until later and add that in the project details. And I'll click Save. Now cloning takes a few minutes. It depends on how many custom documents you have and how much information you're bringing over. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Josh so Josh can talk to you about our next steps.
Yeah, so what Susan, just to kind of recap what was done there, I think Susan obviously started at the company level. She created a company form. You could do that for any form. She used an existing form, which is what we call system forms. And in Project Team, there's a lot of system forms that come out of the box by default, things like RFIs, submittals, change orders, kind of the industry standard. You could have done the exact same thing with a brand new custom form. So if there's something that your organization does very well, it's your own intellectual property, you're a little bit different than everybody else in the industry, that's totally fine. You can set those things up at the company level. Once Susan added the company form, she added a company report, which then made it available on all projects, assuming that report's category, and that one was an RFI, so RFI is by default on every project, was included on those projects. We do have some really good webinars coming up very shortly, and some of those are going to be on some of the features that she kind of breezed over pretty quickly, including reporting. So our next webinar is going to be next week on Thursday, April 9th, and that's going to be on custom merge templates. So merge templates are custom print outputs, and you can use anything that you probably already use, whether that's an Excel file, a Word file, in some cases a PDF file, or even a PowerPoint file. And then you can merge information that you already have from the forms that we have into those outputs. In addition to that, we're going to do a basic reporting, kind of show you, what we give you as a system report, how to make modifications to that. And then on the 23rd, we're going to go into advanced reporting, which is going to be kind of a deep dive into our reporting tool to show you more about including multiple categories, creating things like budget reports, joining information together that aren't necessarily related by default, and then kind of color coding or making conditional statements. We do have a couple quick links. So if you aren't able to submit your question today, you can always submit your questions for existing users to support@projectteam.com. And if you're watching this presentation and you are not yet an existing user, but you'd like to learn more or even have a one-on-one presentation, you can email sales@projectteam.com. In addition to those email links, every user has access to our help pages. So you can click on your name, go down, and there's a link for view help pages. And then there's a lot that you can do, either search those help pages or you can search the term QRG for printable resources on pretty much every feature. So as I said, we do have a couple more of these I think 3 more of these lunch and learn sessions coming up in the following Thursdays. Please make sure you sign up for those, as we do have different topics that we are covering. If there's anything that you have an idea of for a lunch and learn, you can also submit that to us, and we'll be sure to kind of work that into a session coming up. Well, thank you everybody for joining today. I hope you learned a lot. And if you need the presentation of this, just let us know. Thank you.